I'm definitely a people pleaser, which I, through therapy, you know, learned that sometimes you have to say no.
Hmm.
I would go out of my way, change plans to help somebody, but it was really like not convenient for me
Hmm.
in ways where, and establishing boundaries with
Yes,
people, because I would let
arm's
people
length.
run. I'd people run all over me because either I wanted them to like me, or I, wanted to be a friend, and like some people take advantage of that. I've
You
learned
want to do
though,
the right thing. Yeah.
I've learned, you as you get older, you learn people's intentions,
Hmm.
so, and sometimes you just have to cut ties with people too. So,
That's true.
yeah.
Uh, Sometimes you have to eliminate toxicity, and that's tough for especially people pleasers like us. Like
Yeah.
I think you and I are very similar in that we want people to be happy, we want people to be in a good mood, and it makes us feel good.
Sure.
But there is a point where you gotta have that arm's length. And you gotta say no, because just as much as there are people like us out there, there are um, there are emotion vampires out there.
Oh yeah.
That will they see somebody like us and they're like, oh, this is great. I'm going to mess with your life. Oh, doormat. And I think that's important. I think one of the most healthy things you can say is say no when something is inconvenient for you, because what you're doing is you're saying yes to yourself.
Yeah.
You're valuing yourself.
And the other thing is not to feel bad about it.
Yeah.
It takes some time, and I still struggle with that, but to say no and be okay with it.
Hmm. Absolutely. You got it. And that really comes back to like loving yourself and finding value in yourself, which is not easy.
No.
It's fact, we're like we talked about earlier, we're our own worst critic
Hmm.
when it comes to stuff like that. You've got to find value with yourself.
Yeah, I think what am I going to say there? I'm always overthinking maybe actions I've done or things I've said to people, and like a lot of times, no one's even thinking about it.
Yeah.
Or whatever kind of action you did, or maybe something you said to somebody, you might think, "Oh man, I shouldn't have said it that way or said it like that," and
Hmm.
I'm overthinking it. Where that other person, they don't even know what they just moved on.
They moved on. It's so funny because like I remember specifically in middle school, I made a joke that bombed, and people made fun of me in that it was like a third period class, and I got ridiculed,
Hmm.
and I was it ruined my day. I came home, I was crying, I was in tears, I was just like they everybody hates me, and then my dad explained. He said, "Let me ask you a question. All those kids that laughed at you, are they thinking about you right now? Are they going, what a loser that kid Aaron was?" And I went, well, no, just then you don't worry about it. And it's now that sounds a little bit like it's not as easy as that,
Yeah.
because you're dealing with as soon as I show up, oh, there's the Joker, but it did put in perspective a little bit that I think sometimes what we think is what sometimes what we feel is much bigger, it may not be as big as we think it is. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Maybe I'm not saying it the way I need to,
No.
but
Yeah. Exactly.
yeah, like we're worried about stuff we can't control,
Yeah.
and that instead of what and it robs ourselves of our own happiness. And there's that when you allow negativity to affect you, you give power to it.
Hmm.
It's kind of like it's kind of like when if somebody insults you, you're giving power to them over you by letting it get to you. It's the was it the Buddhist quote where it says if somebody insults like it was the Buddha says, if somebody insults me, how do you deal with it? And he said, Buddha says, well, if somebody gives me a gift and I don't accept it, who holds the gift? It's kind of that same thing. It's if somebody
Yeah.
tries to insult you, but you refuse to accept the insult, it doesn't affect you.
And that goes along with a lot of stuff on, Twitter, social media, where
Yeah.
just ignore. Don't give people the power.
Yeah.
So, and it's hard,
Hmm.
to do. I try really hard to just focus on things I like and to be positive and talk to people that you know, similar, like wrestling,
Yeah.
or music, or and I try not to get in, and I fall down the rabbit hole sometimes. Kind of stay away from like politics and stuff like that, and just giving people fuel. And if someone comes back I remember someone said something like this on that we were talking wrestling on some kind of thread, and I said something to the fact where like I've been a wrestling fan for over 30 years, and I've seen so many storylines. I want to see good wrestling. I want to see a good match. I mean, I like storylines in wrestling, that's fine, but like I don't care if they're throwing two guys that that don't have anything to do with each other, and they're wrestling and it's a good match. That doesn't bother me. I love the art of wrestling and
Yeah.
watching a match. A lot of boxing, there's usually not storylines. Number
Yeah.
one contenders,
Yeah. Where's the story?
yeah, they're fighting for a title.
Yeah.
So that's how that's kind of how I look at wrestling in general. But so I made a comment just like, hey, I just want to see a good match. That's why I like AEW. Tony Khan will throw on a match. It doesn't make any sense. I don't, but hey, it's awesome. It was a great,
Yeah.
a dream match, or just so.
Oh,
And the guy came back and said something like, oh, you just want to see two sweaty dudes like wrestle it out. And I'm like, and then what I came back, I wasn't gonna say anything. I'm like, well, I also like to see some women wrestle too.
yeah. Exactly. See,
Because I'm a
see.
big, I'm a
Hey,
big,
mixed gender. Let's
you know,
go.
I, I love some women wrestling as well, a lot.
Mhm.
So like that was my comeback, and then I didn't say anything after that. But with anything on
Mhm.
those lines, if like you said, you just give them the ammunition. Just walk away. Just don't say anything.
Yeah. Because catch new episodes of Mental Health Mondays every Monday morning at 7 a.m. Start your week off with a smile and some inspiration.